Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm alongside my Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Tuesday?
I'm good. I can't wait for the Super Bowl.
That's slowly approaching.
Slowly,
60 minutes to the end of the 2025 NFL
This
season.
2-week gap. I don't know. I don't really like it.
Well, it's the Pro Bowl. You have to remember the Pro Bowl, which is actually, I think, tonight.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be watching
joke.
that. Nobody's going to be watching that.
That's why they have it on a.
Well, normally it's on a Sunday. For this year, it's on a Tuesday. So there you go. All right, we got a lot to talk about, though. We got a lot to discuss, a lot of rumors out there, a couple shots here and there. Super Bowl coverage will be on Friday's show. Also, the coaching carousel has wrapped up with one reported kind of breaking news. It's going to happen. It just needs to wait until after the Super Bowl to be completed. So we'll talk about the conclusion of the 2026 NFL coaching carousel. That'll be on later on in the show. But let's begin with the first topic of today's show, which is an interesting one because during a recent interview with USA Today, Justin Jefferson was asked about if he could expect or if he wished the Vikings could be in this spot. And while defending the current Super Bowl quarterback, Sam Darnold, it also seems like he takes a very slight shot at his current quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. So take a listen to what Justin Jefferson had to say.
I mean, everyone knows the difficulty of the quarterback position this year, of how we was dealt it. But of course, having a quarterback that's already had a season under his belt with us, knew the plays, knew the playbook, knew the players, of course, throwing to me, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, all of these guys. I definitely felt like we would have done better. But, it is what it is. It's on to new and better things.
So my question to you is, do you like or dislike Justin Jefferson's comment?
I think it's accurate. I think that, he's telling it like it is. So I think they would have done better with Darnold. Look at Darnold. He's playing in the Super Bowl this weekend. So, I mean, that kind of says it all. And J.J. McCarthy, he was very spotty, to say the least, and he was hurt half the season and being demolished by opposing defenses the other half of the season. I think Jefferson, I don't think he's a egotistical guy. I think he's not necessarily want to be known as one of the best wideouts receivers in the NFL. He wants to be known as, and remembered as being a great receiver who won a Super Bowl. And they took a giant step backwards from that this season. In 2024, I'm sure they thought they were close. They went 14-3 before being disappointed at the end and losing to the Lions to lose the number one seed and losing to the Rams in the playoffs. But in that playoff game, Darnold was destroyed by the Rams. He was sacked, 9 times, I think, in that game. The leadership decided to go with McCarthy and part ways with Darnold for several reasons: to show confidence in McCarthy, to prevent a competition and possible quarterback controversy that might have a negative effect on the team and the training camp. I think that was a mistake. This season, they didn't come close to even making the playoffs, with Darnold signing with the Seahawks and J.J. McCarthy taking over as quarterback. As a result, McCarthy struggled. Half the time, as I said, he was injured. Half the time, he was getting run over by opposing defenses. Jefferson was asked, if it could have been with the Super Bowl with Darnold as the Vikings quarterback. He said, "Yeah, sure, definitely." And you played the quote. Everybody knows the difficulty with the quarterback position we had this year, and he went on to talk about what could have been better and how they could have maybe made the Super Bowl this year. And I think he was accurate in everything he said. He gave kudos to Darnold, congratulating him on going with the Seahawks and making the Super Bowl in his first season with the team. McCarthy won't get the same lenience given out to him last season. I expect a veteran to be brought in at quarterback for competition, similar to what the Colts did with Richardson and with Jones. And I think that was the right move for the Colts, and it paid off, actually, until later in the season when Jones got hurt and a lot of other reasons there where the Colts didn't play well down the stretch. I think Kirk Cousins would be an excellent candidate who played 6 seasons with the Vikings and had a great success in the regular season. He had 88 regular season games with the Vikings, 23,265 passing yards, 101.2 passer rating, 171 TDs, 55 interceptions. He was 53-45-1 with them. He was a Pro Bowler in 2019, 21, and 22. He was consistently ranked in the top 10 for adjusted net yards per pass attempt with the Vikings. He holds 3 of the top 5 passing yardage seasons and 4 of the top 10 touchdown seasons in Vikings history. In 2022, he tied the NFL single-season record with 8 winning game-winning drives. He had the largest comeback in league history of 33 points against the Colts. Was the last 4,000-yard passer for both the Vikings and the Commanders. He's the last quarterback for the Commanders to pass for 4,000 yards. For career, he has 164 games, 159 starts. His 66.9% completion percentage on 5,630 throws, 42,979 yards, 298 TDs, 131 interceptions, a 96.8 passer rating. I say go get him.
All right. I would say that this comment, I've always defended players when they are honest. I defended Jimmy Haslam calling out Deshaun Watson. I'm a big fan of this because it shows accountability. I think that the lack of accountability, for example, on the Patriots end, when it was Matt Patricia, who was the OC, and Joe Judge is the quarterback coach. One guy was a defensive guy. The other one was a special teams coordinator. There was no accountability in that end. I think this is perfect. And I'm shocked that we haven't heard really anything about Justin Jefferson wanting out, although I think he should, based on the amount of, just based on the quarterback carousel, the quarterback that have run through the Minnesota Vikings. He started his collegiate career with Joe Burrow. That's who he had throwing passes to him. Joe Burrow and arguably the greatest college team of all time, the 2019 LSU Tigers. But I think right now you look at it, Kirk Cousins, and I agree with you just in the fact that Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback that Justin Jefferson has had. And I think if we look at Kirk Cousins, we don't think of him as a top 10 quarterback. So the fact that he never really has had an elite quarterback throwing it to him, this is who he's had. This is all the quarterbacks that have thrown him a pass as of through the 2025 NFL season. Kirk Cousins, Sean Mannion, Josh Dobbs, Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins, Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz, and Max Brosmer. Get this guy some help. Or not even get this guy some help. Get this guy a quarterback, a solid quarterback. J.J. McCarthy doesn't seem to be the guy, and I had concerns coming out of the draft where you take a look at what he had to do in college, and it wasn't much. He averaged about 17 pass attempts a game with Michigan. He had like 170 yards per game. I said, if you need to put the weight of the game on a quarterback's back, do not let it be J.J. McCarthy. And that reared its ugly head throughout the season. He was also banged up a lot. And Carson Wentz is not a great quarterback, and he tried his best, but ultimately he's not good whatsoever. And Max Brosmer had trouble completing passes to his own team and not the opposing team. Nick Mullins has had hot spots here or there, had a 4-interception game. Jaron Hall is nowhere to be found. Sean Mannion, I believe, is an OC right now of an NFL team. And Josh Dobbs is the backup for New England, and Kirk Cousins is currently trying to find new location. But, I have zero issue with Justin Jefferson telling the truth. He needs a quarterback, and whether or not, firing the GM was a good idea because maybe he pushed Kevin O'Connell to play J.J. McCarthy maybe a year early instead of pursuing an Aaron Rodgers more or pursuing another veteran quarterback. We'll see what they do this year. I have no faith whatsoever that they'll get the quarterback decision right. I think they put way too much, and Justin Jefferson has defended J.J. McCarthy throughout the season, especially after he's had some very, very bad games. But ultimately, you got to wonder, hey, I want to do something other than just play well. And he had his worst season statistically just because he had about 4 quarterbacks this year. So I think that there is a level of get me a quarterback, get me somebody who could complete me a pass that is, a top 10 or even top 12 quarterback right now. You let one go, and depending on what you think of Daniel Jones, you let 2 potential great quarterbacks go, where both those quarterbacks found a level of success compared to my team, where J.J. McCarthy showed really not many, if any, flashes. Carson Wentz is going to be a career backup for as long as he plays, and Max Brosmer may be unemployed heading into next season. So
he should be.
He needs to find a quarterback. I'm surprised we haven't heard him increasingly upset. We haven't heard like a Stephon Diggs. He hasn't lashed out at his quarterback on the sideline as we've seen maybe some other receivers do. He doesn't seem that moody or pouty on the field like a George Pickens has been when maybe he doesn't get as many reps as he possibly can. So I think that I commend him for his professionalism, but I think anybody can understand the pain it must be out there when you are arguably just under an average quarterback. You could be the number one wide receiver in the NFL. And because of decisions maybe the GM who's currently not employed has made, you have to be stuck with, D+ tier quarterbacks through a majority of your career.
Yeah, well, they obviously made a strategic blunder by letting Darnold go and then giving the reins to J.J. McCarthy. He wasn't ready. And he can't stay healthy. He's been hurt. He's had like 3 injuries this year, and last year he didn't play a snap in the regular season because of his knee injury. So they got to worry about that. They definitely need to bring in somebody. And I don't think it's drafting a quarterback. I think it's, trade for Kirk Cousins. I mean, look at how well he did for the Vikings. He can make him competitive, I think. He's getting older, no doubt about that. He'll be 38 years old. But, he's a pocket passer, and the Vikings had a good offensive scheme when he was there. J.J. Jefferson, he thrived under playing with Kirk Cousins. I'm sure he'd love to have him come back, and it'd be good for McCarthy. Actually, I think he needs to have that competition with somebody, and he can learn a lot from somebody like Kirk Cousins, I think.
Yeah, we will see what the Vikings do. We'll be following this case throughout the entirety of the offseason. But speaking about offseason acquisitions, it seems like we have an insider report from Jets insider Connor Hughes of SNY, who recently reported that he expects the Jets to trade with the Arizona Cardinals and acquire quarterback Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray has been under scrutiny the past couple years with poor play, trade rumors, and now it looks like Connor Hughes of SNY is saying that the Jets will be looking pretty heavily at Kyler Murray as their quarterback one for 2026, especially with Dante Moore going back to Oregon, who was the projected number 2 overall pick to the New York Jets. So my question to you is, would Kyler be a good fit in New York with the New York Jets?
Well, the Jets are currently in a very tough spot. They got one of the worst offenses in the league, largely because the quarterback position is a disaster and has been for quite a while now. Justin Fields turned out to be a disaster, and the Jets are expected to part ways with him. He had a 2-year, $40 million deal, $30 million guaranteed, and they can opt out after the first year. That's what they're going to do. It's unlikely they're unlikely to be able to draft a rookie who can start immediately. That's assuming Mendoza goes to the Raiders, which I think is a given. Moore is returning to the Oregon, so the second elite quarterback won't be there for them to pick. So they're probably going to pass on drafting a quarterback. So Connor Hughes, who's supposedly an insider with the Jets, expects the Jets to trade for Murray, who seems to is seen as the best quarterback option on the market right now. I'm not sure I agree with that. Malik Willis is out there.
Oh my God!
And he's played well for the Packers. And Kirk Cousins is out there. And I just mentioned.
Kirk Cousins, he's still under contract.
Well, he's probably going to be traded. I think they're probably going to get off him. I don't think Stefanski wants that issue with Penix there, and I think Matt Ryan feels the same way. So I do think that Kirk Cousins is going to be available. I think that the Jets, they want to make some sort of splash, given it's been so horrible. This past year, one of their worst years, I think. They wouldn't have to shift their entire offense to fit Murray's style. They've tried to be a running team. They have Breece Hall, and that's what they were going to try to do with Justin Fields. It didn't work out. Maybe it will work out better with Kyler Murray. They think he can be had for a second-round pick. The Jets have 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years, as well as a slew of second-round picks. Why not? Second-round pick for them. Well, it's a high pick to get Kyler Murray, who was a first number 1 pick in the draft when he went, 6 years ago? I think it's time flies pretty fast here. Cardinals would have to move from Murray I think they would like to move for Murray thanks to his $52.6 million cap hit in 2026. If traded before 6/1, they realize cap savings of about $35.3 million. They suffer a dead cap charge of $17.9 million. His $230 million contract runs through 2028. Trades can't happen before the new league year, which begins on March 1st. The other potential candidates, as I mentioned, is Malik Willis could be had for 2 years, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. I doubt they'll do that. That's the same contract they gave Justin Fields. It was a disaster, so I don't think they want to repeat doing that. And Kirk Cousins, they could probably trade for him. You look at Murray's career stats, 87 games. He's 67.1% completion percentage on about 3,000 throws, 20,460 yards, 121 TDs, 60 interceptions, a passer rating of 92.2. Not too bad. Rushing 532 carries, 3,193 yards, 6 yards per carry, 32 touchdowns. He did have 37 fumbles, but they only lost 8 of them. So I think also his health is an issue. In 19, he played 16 games. In 20, he played 16 games. In 21, 14 games. 22, 11 games. 23, 8 games. He had the ACL that year. 24, 17 games. 25, only 5 games. And what his injury was there, I'm not sure. It seemed like an injury could come back from, and they just kept him on the bench. His contract has 3 years left on it, $157.8 million on the 5-year, $230.5 million deal, which runs through 2028. $40 million is guaranteed, $19.5 million of 2027 salary is guaranteed on March 15th. He counts $50 million against the 2026 cap. So I think the Cardinals are going to want to say goodbye to Kyler Murray. They're willing to part with him for a second-round pick. The Jets have tons of draft picks. Why not?
We're saying why not? It's a level of, will Aaron Glenn be employed by the end of 2026? And my answer is also probably not, because I'll bring up the Jets' opponents for 2026 in a second here. But yes, while Kyler Murray may be the best option, as considered basically the best free agent option out there for a level of success, why? This is a tank year. And hell, with the current players you have on the roster, who's left? Again, you let go your best pass rusher, your best cornerback. Your number one cornerback is Brandon Stevens, who I said even as soon as he got to the Jets, do we remember what he did in Baltimore? Anytime a wide receiver will be open against Baltimore, you look at who was initially in coverage. Oh, it's Brandon Stevens. So again, they also let their best linebacker go. The only guys who are actually good are the 2 tackles who are just slightly above average this year based on grade. Garrett Wilson, who probably doesn't want to be there, and Breece Hall, who demanded a trade at the trade deadline. Besides them, nobody. Literally nobody. I like Mason Taylor. I like him a lot, but still, he's not a top-tier tight end. I don't know what the Jets got. They got really no great offensive line. Their defense was atrocious with a defensive coach. They were 26th in overall defensive grade, 27th in tackling, 26th in pass rush, and 31st in coverage. Their passing grade was also 31st. They had Justin Fields, who was an absolute disgrace. Tyrod Taylor ran the offense better, and it got so bad because Tyrod Taylor was hurt and Justin Fields had a weird injury that Brady Cook had to be the starting quarterback. So I'm not sure what the Jets exactly want to do. If they want to go get the best quarterback out there, I wouldn't understand why, unless you're thinking that the Colts tank and you use their first-round pick because it would be lower than yours. Rather higher, depending on what you're looking at. But I just think that the Jets, no matter what they do, they're never going to get the quarterback right. I think next year it's incredibly difficult for them to find any level of success with any free agent quarterback, because let's take a look at the Jets' schedule for 2026. These are their opponents. You find me any level of success that the Jets have. Find me where the wins are. I mean, okay, maybe the Browns and maybe the Titans. Although a lot of people, we've talked about it. Oh, no, the Titans will beat them. It's Robert Saleh's revenge game. The Raiders will have Clint Kubiak. We'll talk about that a little bit later. They have the first overall pick. They have Ashton Genty. New leadership's coming in. New OC. New head coach. The defense, you figure out a way to please Max Crosby a little bit. He's still ticked off. But find me a lot of wins here. If we're talking about just potential guaranteed wins, where I know Mike Clay does his projection system, so I'm not sure if he has done it for 2026 yet. Probably not. But if we take a look, he does things in, win percentage. So it's above 50% for me. 50% or higher, I take that as a potential win. The Browns, the Titans, and the Cardinals. Those are all potential wins. And maybe if you think the Raiders are going to be that bad again with new leadership, the Raiders. So if we're saying all of that, are we saying the Dolphins really?
Well, maybe they split with the Dolphins at least, right? I mean, the Dolphins are terrible.
Why would they split with the Dolphins?
The Dolphins have a brand new head coach who I think is a very questionable pick. I don't understand why they picked him. I think it's largely because the GM came from Green Bay and he said, I want to bring this guy.
They lost to the Dolphins twice this year. They got swept by the Dolphins this year.
Yeah, well, who's the Dolphins quarterback next year?
Well, it might be Tua. It probably is Tua. You can't get off of that contract.
Yeah. Well, I think they'd be competitive against the Dolphins. I think it could be competitive against the Dolphins. I think the Titans, the Cardinals, and the Raiders.
Well, the Titans, we talked about it on Friday.
After that, I agree with you. I don't see anyone there, and the Cleveland.
Well, we said on Friday that the Titans are going to beat the Jets.
Potentially 5 teams they could play competitively against. The rest of them, I agree with you. I don't see them doing well against Buffalo, the Patriots. Kansas City will be rebounding. The Broncos probably would have gone to the Super Bowl this year if Knicks hadn't got hurt. The Chargers, the Lions, the Bears. Come on. Green Bay will be better, I think. Micah Parsons will be back. The Vikings. There aren't any wins there. There's just those 5 teams. 5 games that they could potentially do something with.
Well, I will say, and I want to stay consistent. You are very confident that the Titans will beat the Jets. You're incredibly confident because the last 2 times we talked about Robert Saleh and the Titans, you say
competitive. I said they'd be competitive in the game. You know what? I agree with you. I don't think they can beat the Titans with Robert Saleh as a head coach. He's going to steamroll them.
Probably. Now, here's my question: if Justin Fields versus Kyler Murray, because here's how you know if it matters at all. You have 5 potential teams where they could be competitive against. Does that change with either quarterback? Do you give him a better chance to win with Kyler Murray out there than Justin Fields and or Tyrod Taylor?
Well, you know what? I've been a defender of Justin Fields. I like the guy. I think he's
exactly. That's what we're talking about.
I like him, and unfortunately, he had a horrible experience with the Jets in his first year.
It's his
fault. He wound up getting benched.
His fault.
He couldn't do much of anything. It was really pathetic. I mean, compared to playing with the Steelers, where I think that they should have kept him in there as opposed to putting Russell Wilson in. I think he got shafted there. He was playing well, and I think that had a lot to do with the coaching. The coaching was good. They had who's their offensive coordinator? Arthur Smith. He knew how to use Justin Fields, and it worked out very well. And I think he could have stayed in an environment like that. He would have done much better. But in the Jets environment, it was a disaster. So I think. Do I think Murray would be better than and maybe win some of those 5 games that they can be competitive in? Maybe. I think Justin Fields he'd be happy to be released. I think the best thing that could happen for him is to get released. He doesn't want to be in that environment anymore. His goods are tarnished by his Jets experience. He needs to go somewhere else.
So I just want to make sure it's the Titans, Cardinals, maybe the Dolphins, Raiders, Browns.
Yeah, those are the 5 games.
Those are the 5 games saying they're competitive.
Yeah.
How many games would Justin Fields win out of those 5? So 5 and 12 apparently is the ceiling.
Yeah.
So how many games would Justin Fields win?
I think he could probably beat the Cardinals.
Okay.
And I think he might be able to beat the Browns.
So Justin Fields goes 2-15.
Maybe the Dolphins too, but I don't think he could beat the Titans. I think they'd be competitive, but I think that the Titans are going to win that game.
Okay, so Justin Fields' ceiling for the Jets is 3-14. Now, are you saying that's where Kyler starts and he may get to 5-12, or do you say that they're both 3-14? Because if that's the case, why move?
I think the reason you move is it was a disaster with Fields, and with Murray, there might be some hope. I think they say they want to make a splash, You make a splash with Kyler Murray. Kyler
That's
Murray
not-
is
That's a
he had some good seasons, Nate, and you look at his
good
statistics.
season. 5 years ago.
His statistics aren't bad. His statistics are pretty good. His rushing statistics, 3,000 yards rushing.
Yeah, over the
right?
course of his career, he has
92 passer rating, right? Not bad. And I think that he suffered some from the talent around him, which wasn't a whole lot. And did he make some mistakes? Sure. When the playoff game, he fumbled the ball for a touchdown to the other team. I mean, he made some bad mistakes, but he is an athletic player. And
who
I
doesn't
think that,
run.
well, not lately. But he got hurt, right? He has an injury history, and I worry about that a little bit. But I think it'd be better with Murray than with Fields. And I'm a supporter of Justin Fields. I just think he'd be better off going to a different environment.
I mean, if we're talking about, again, like the numbers may look good, but look at the level of success that they've had. They haven't had a winning season in 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, Kyler's been hurt throughout every single, actually all but one of those seasons.
That's right. Yeah.
But even in that season, they went 8-9. And by the way, that was the year where the 49ers got so banged up and everybody was making excuses for Brock Purdy because they went 6.
Well, their defense has not been. Their defense has not been good.
So you're going to a team who had a worse defense.
I just think the Jets have nobody.
So why would you bring
They have
another
nothing.
quarterback as the savior?
It's just giving up a 2nd-round pick for him.
You could keep that 2nd-round pick and build up your trash roster
Yeah,
because you got rid of everybody.
They'll be spending a lot of money on his contract too.
Exactly. So why would you spend money and spend draft capital?
Then what do you? Who do you think their quarterback ought to be? Just keep Justin Fields. Yeah, you think so?
Justin Fields tank, get Arch Manning or Dante Moore as the first overall pick of next year. Because why would you spend a bunch of money, sign Kyler to like a 3-year deal or whatever you want to give him, hope and pray
you know what?
he'll take a discount?
That makes some sense. I think that makes a lot of sense. But unfortunately, the Jets have been tanking every year for a decade, for 20 years now.
They haven't tried.
Not that long, but they're terrible every year.
But they've tried to be good. That's the issue.
They need to show that they're trying to be good.
They did. They signed Aaron Rodgers. They rebuilt the offensive line. They had Breece Hall. They didn't trade him away. They have Garrett Wilson. I believe they signed him to an extension. They had a bunch of defensive players. They had a team that had the shot of winning. That's why some people, once Rodgers got there, went to the Super Bowl.
The fact that their defense fell apart is an indictment on Aaron Glenn.
It's not fell apart. They traded it away.
Yeah, well, 2 players they traded away.
The 2 best players on defense.
Under Saleh, they had a very good defense, and that fell all apart when he left. And when Aaron Glenn got there, it was just a disaster. And Aaron Glenn is supposed to be a big defensive mind, so I don't know how that happened. I think it's an indictment on him. I'm surprised he still has his job.
Well, they obviously thought, this is a rebuilding process. Why get rid of a guy who we're going through the process with, which I think is actually partially smart because you have to look at who is out there, who's available because there's no Mike Vrabel out there. That's why I thought potentially hiring. You go through the coaches this year. You have an issue apparently with Jeff Hafley going over to the Dolphins. The Robert Saleh.
I never heard of him.
Research. The Robert Saleh pick for the Titans is supposed to be, we screwed up firing Vrabel. Let's bring in Robert Saleh to see if he can rebuild the culture. So I think hiring Aaron or keeping Aaron Glenn out there is not a horrible idea. We'll see this year. I guarantee you, if the defense is still terrible and the offense is going nowhere, he'll be fired before the trade deadline. I 100% think that. Because you have to have some improvement. You have to have an offseason. By the way, with the new GM, we'll see how he does. What will he be able to do in this year's draft with the amount of draft capital that they acquired by trading away everybody? So why would you trade up draft capital after you acquired it? So your team is, again, filled with Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall,
Brandon Stevens,
and two tackles. 2 tackles that are a little bit above average. I wish I could say but there's nobody left. Brandon Stevens is terrible. There's no linebacker there. There's no real pass rush. What were they? They were 26th in pass rush, 31st in coverage. So this is a Jets team that you look at it, they are completely rebuilding.
So you would tank again?
I would. You can't say tank. It's against the NFL rules. But yes, I would tank 100%. Or I would throw Justin Fields out there and have him throw 12 times, complete 5 or 6 of those passes. He'll have 86 yards. Because that's what he did for several games. They had an opportunity to beat the potential Super Bowl team in the Denver Broncos. But Justin Fields couldn't throw. He just stood there like a statue. So yes, Jets fans, it's going to be another brutal year because, again, look at the schedule, find the wins. You say potentially 5. Justin Fields is ceiling is 3.
I say they'll be competitive in the games. I said 3 out of the 5.
Well, you said 3 out of the 5 Justin Fields would win. But 5 they could be competitive in.
Yeah. I don't think Kyler Murray, I kind of agree. I don't think Kyler Murray would get many more wins.
The only one that I say that he may, actually, no,
football is a team sport. It's a team sport, and the team is terrible.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe they can pick up some elite players in the draft, but
also,
rookies are going to make mistakes, and free agency, they have some cap space.
I would need to check. But
they haven't been lucky in the free agency.
I was going to say, no matter who they get.
Whoever they get, it doesn't work out.
They're the Jets are the opposite of King Midas.
Mekhi Becton.
Bring him back?
No, but I said, look at that one. They drafted him. He was like,
he was hurt all the time.
And he was hurt, and he played lousy. Then he went over the Ravens. He was good for them. Yeah.
You mean the Eagles?
I'm sorry, the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles.
On the Chargers, he was terrible again. On the Chargers, he was one of the worst guards in the league.
Yeah.
So, again, he also dealt with injuries there as well. All right, now we're going to take a very quick break, but coming up, we got to go down the 10 head coaches there. Everybody's been hired. All the head coaching vacancies have been filled. One that was reported on, but he obviously can't sign because he's still currently the OC of one of the teams in the Super Bowl. So we'll basically break down the coaching hires and say which team made the best hire. That's coming up right after this quick break.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show, which is all of the head coaching vacancies have been filled. All 10 of them. Let's take a look at them right now. John Harbaugh's going over to the Giants. Mike LaFleur is heading over to Arizona. We have Todd Monken going over to Cleveland. Mike McCarthy coming out of, unemployment, not retirement, going over to the Steelers. Jesse Vinter heading over to the Ravens. Jeff Hafley going over to the Dolphins. Stefanski to the Falcons. Joe Brady staying put in Buffalo. Saleh to the Titans. And Clint Kubiak reportedly going over to the Las Vegas Raiders. So my question for you is, which team do you think had hired the best candidate?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, I spent the afternoon looking at the different hires and the coaches and the reasons they got the grades they got. There's a lot of analysis out there about this. But I think it comes down to the criteria that you use for a head coach. And I think the important criteria is to develop a culture that the players buy into and with a top-down mentality, and try to the ability to build some sort of cohesive roster and immediately build a team based on its strengths. It's not enough to just be a top play caller anymore. And I think that what the other teams saw this year was somebody like Mike Vrabel, who came in to a team that only won 4 games each of the last 2 years, and take them to the Super Bowl. It can be done. It can be done. Maybe the schedule helps a little bit here and there, but he came in and he has a culture. He established a culture, a top-down view, and the players bought into it. They bought into it 100%, and look where they are. So I think that's really the most important thing. So which of these coaches have the best chance to implement a culture like that? And the other thing I'd say before I get into that is a coach that can take what looks like a disaster and that happens unexpectedly, mostly through injuries, like Robert Saleh did for the 49ers defense, right? Put something back together. Or this guy Minter for the Ravens. what he's been able to do. Their defense looked lousy, but they had tons of injuries, and you look at the stats, he actually was able to cobble it together and keep it going, and they wound up playing for a chance to get into the playoffs this year despite all of those injuries. So that's what teams are looking for this year. And did they achieve it? Well, when I look down through the list, I think the top 3 candidates that were picked would be Harbaugh, Stefanski, and Saleh. Although I don't understand why people think Stefanski is so fantastic.
Oh,
I mean,
explain that.
He was coach of the year twice, right? The last 2 years, their team has been horrible on offense, unbelievably bad. He fails at the criteria of cobbling something together to be at least relevant. In that regard, they were horrible both years. So I don't think he has that ability. Harbaugh does, but Harbaugh is a coach who builds, who is good because of the people around him. And he lost Monken, and he was hoping that Monken would come to be the Giants OC, and that's not going to happen now. So who's the Giants OC going to be? Matt Nagy, huh? So that's probably a decent choice, but I don't think that's what Harbaugh was hoping would happen, and I don't think he thought that Monken was going to get the Browns job. So I had him in the top 3. I guess I have Stefanski in the top 3 because he mixes well. He seems to mix up well with Matt Ryan, who's the new president of football operations, and he was able to hire Bill Callahan to be his offensive line coach. I think Callahan was not a good head coach, but a very good assistant coach. And then the third one I had in the top 3 was Robert Saleh. And I think he has the culture thing down, saying that the team is going to have speed and play violently. That's his culture. I love that quote. I think that's fantastic. He's a great defensive mind. He was hosed by the Jets, and he came out of that smelling like a rose. It was outstanding as the 49ers DC, recruited Brian Daboll to be his offensive coordinator, who I think will create an offensive structure for Ward that will accentuate his big play ability. And he also hired Gus Brady as his defensive coordinator. He showed that even with a lot of injuries, the defense could maintain an identity, which seems to be one of the criterias this year for picking a coach. Can you react? Can you take what looks like, we lost this player, we're done. We lost Nick Bosa, that's it. We're not going to be able to compete. Well, they made it. They won a playoff game, and they got creamed by the Seahawks, but they did have a chance to play for the number 1 seed. They got beat by the Seahawks again in that game. So those things all add up to me as thinking that Saleh was the best choice.
Robert Saleh takes the crown for you. I'm a little bit shocked.
I have more to say about the other coaches, but I want to hear yours. Who you think?
You said, why do people think Kevin Stefanski is a home run? You mentioned, the Browns' offense the last 2 years has been terrible,
horrendous.
Do we understand who the quarterback situation was for the Cleveland Browns? I believe, if I counted it correctly, I just want to double check. Over the last 2 seasons, the Browns, the Browns have had 7 quarterbacks throw a pass in the last 2 seasons. And we're saying, why was the offense so bad? Deshaun Watson was the quarterback. DTR was the quarterback. Joe Flacco, who came back this year, was the quarterback. Dylan Gabriel was the quarterback. Shador Sanders was the quarterback. Jameis Winston was the most successful quarterback last year for the Cleveland Browns. And finally, Belichick approved Bailey Zappi, who threw a interception to one of the heaviest men to ever intercept a pass to the Baltimore Ravens. I do think it is Kevin Stefanski, and that's the best hire. It depends on the criteria. If we're talking about, and obviously every team wants to have team success, go to the Super Bowl and win, sure, but realistically, anybody who just hired a head coach this year, you go down the list. The only one that you have, if we're talking about confidence strictly, is Joe Brady, because he was already the OC with Josh Allen in Buffalo. All of these are massive question marks. What will John Harbaugh look like with the Giants and that defensive situation? Mike LaFleur, what would he do with a terrible roster with potentially no quarterback currently in Arizona? Todd Monken just going intra-division, going from OC of the Ravens to head coach of the Browns. What will he do, especially with Shedeur and Mike McCarthy coming out of unemployment to be with the Steelers, etc.? The only one we have a slight amount of confidence in is the continuity of Joe Brady with Josh Allen in Buffalo. But for me, if we're talking about strictly just who has the best shot at success, it's probably Joe Brady. But as a new head coach, new environment, different environment, it has to be Kevin Stefanski. And here's two reasons why. The roster in of itself, unlike the Cleveland Browns offensive side of the ball, both sides of Atlanta are relatively set in stone with what they are. The Falcons absolutely nailed their first-round picks. I love the Jalen Walker pick. I love the James Pierce pick. Both of those players had massive impacts this season. Bijan Robinson on the offensive side. Kyle Pitts had a couple good games, a decent amount of good games this year. Again, we still haven't seen what he used to be in his rookie year. The defense, I understand numbers-wise they were average, but look at the pass rush. Look at the amount of pressures they got. It's a growing, budding defense that should improve heading into next season. The offense, you just got to figure out the quarterback situation. That's all you got to do. Figure out the Michael Penix, Kirk Cousins thing. I think Kirk's going to be gone. Again, I said this last time we talked about it. I believe it was on Friday's show. I think Kirk Cousins, Kevin Stefanski, this is one of his third quarterback controversy. Baker to Deshaun. Now it's Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel. I think he wants to get away from any controversy and just stick with what's currently there. So I do think that it is going to be Kevin Stefanski because he plays in the worst division in football. A team who goes 9-8, which is not a great record. Not a great record. If you just went 9-8, or if the Falcons didn't lose to the Jets, they would have been in the playoffs as 9-8 division-leading Falcons. So Kevin Stefanski, if he screws this up, then you're absolutely right. Why are people going crazy for him? Because this is a kind of you can't screw up type of a situation. Just because you do play in the worst division in football.
I think the big issue there is that it's following Kevin Stefanski around is the quarterback issue.
Well, yeah, think about it.
The quarterback issue is the quarterback issue at Atlanta. Penix has not proven that Penix has not proven.
I agree with that.
He's not proven, and he's on one wheel. Okay, he's got a knee injury. So it's going to take him a while to come back from that. He's going to be gun shy a little bit at the beginning when he gets back in there. He doesn't have much experience. Who's the backup going to be? They don't want to keep Kirk Cousins. Who are they going to get? They better get somebody that can play. Actually, they need to get somebody who can play because Penix could very well flop when he gets back next year. And he may not be ready for the first few games. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think poor Stefanski, this issue is following him around, the quarterback issue. And I think he's got one in Atlanta. And, maybe it's good to have Matt Ryan as the president of football operations because he was a former quarterback. And he'll know that and understand it better. And maybe they'll go out and find somebody that can be a serviceable backup for Penix because I think they'll wind up getting some playing time, whoever it's going to be. Who would it be? Who would they get?
As a backup?
Yeah, who would the backup be? You can't get somebody that's going to you got the same problem that you have with J.J. McCarthy in a way, right? You don't want to hurt his confidence too badly. You want him to think that he's going to be the starting quarterback, but you don't want to have somebody in the wings that can't play. So who is it going to be? Who are they going to have?
Well, what I would have done is heading into this prior season, the 2025 season, I would have came out if I'm Raheem Morris and say, you know what? Whoever's the best quarterback's going to win the job. Instead, they went, okay, no, it's going to be Michael
That cost
Penix.
him his job. He should have made that decision. That cost him his job because Kirk Cousins would have come out on top, and I bet you they would have made the playoffs.
I mean, to be honest, the correct answer is the guy you have in the building should be the starting quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Can Stefanski, I know there was a report out there probably going to release it because he's a cap casualty, and you said that they could bring him back on a lesser deal, which I think is just disrespectful, and we both agreed on that.
He won't do it.
Right, I agree.
They're going to let him go. He'll say, no, I'm not coming back on a lesser deal.
Correct answer
I'm going to go play for somebody else.
The correct answer is Kirk Cousins, though. Kyler Murray, no. Respectfully, no. Mac Jones is currently still under contract with the Niners. You go to Tua. You're not going to go buy Tua from the Dolphins. It's not going to happen.
So they should have just hung.
Malik
So
Willis,
they
no.
made. So in your mind, they've made the first big mistake already by
What?
not retaining not retaining Kirk Cousins.
Well, he's still there.
He's still there, but
he's a cap
they
casualty.
telegraphed that they're going to release him.
Probably.
So they've already made a huge mistake.
Well, that first
in
of all,
your mind.
First of all, that would have
But
happened anyway.
you gave Stefanski the number one choice.
Correct.
Even though he's made a strategic blunder already
because
in your
he
mind.
has the highest chance of success. Because you play in the worst
Not
division
without a good
in football.
quarterback. You got to have a decent quarterback.
They went 8-9 with a bum quarterback, and Michael Penix playing 9 games.
No, but
And then Kirk came in and
won
saved him.
5 of those games. He won 5 of those
He
games,
came
though,
back and
right?
saved it.
Yeah.
But-
They would have been 3. They would have won 3 games.
Yeah, they went 3-6. The number 2 absolutely has to be Harbaugh. You say it should be Saleh. Again, they got nobody on that team.
No, that's Saleh's number 1.
Number
in my
1, yeah,
book.
yeah. For you, number 1 is Saleh. For me, number 1 is Stefanski. Number 2 has to be Harbaugh.
Oh, I agree with that.
Experienced coach going over to New York with a team that was with the amount of talent. Again, Saleh, Titans, no talent. Aaron Glenn, Jets, potentially Kyler Murray, no talent really.
I think Saleh made the right choice. He went to the worst team. He went to the very worst team because the bar is set so low. All he's got to do is win. And we went through it. What did we give him? 4 wins? 4 or 5 wins?
You said 7.
Oh, yeah. 7 potentially.
Yeah, you
that
pushed
would
it
get
to
him
7.
coach of the year if he got 7 wins.
I would agree with that. Okay. Yeah, so John Harbaugh, I just think it's the most experienced hire out there. Mike McCarthy, I don't like that pick. That's Mike Harbaugh 2.0, except on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, John Harbaugh has to be at least in the top 3. I just think that going over to the Giants, you have a roster that's relatively set, just really, really underperformed. The defense should have been significantly better than it was. Dart was in the blue tent every single game. Scatterboo ran through brick walls and then ended up getting injured. Malik Neighbors tore his ACL, and yet you're still finding success with Dart and Dayball without Malik Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson had a tremendous year, a shockingly good year. I think the tight end situation, I think you have to shore up. And for me, I know people don't love to hear that. People can get mad. Secure the interior of the offensive line. Really, John Runyon had a terrible year. People like him, sure, but this year was a really, really bad year for him. So I would secure the interior of that offensive line. Otherwise, I think the Giants should be relatively set. The only bad side is their schedule's not that easy. That's another thing. So, again, how do you find success? And that's where I do think that the younger hires may not be able to find that success with more difficult schedules. John Harbaugh may be able to eke out 7 wins.
No, but Harbaugh is a guy who has to surround himself with really good coaches.
Well,
right?
now he brought
Because
over
he's a
Matt
culture.
Nagy. I'm a little bit scared.
He's a culture guy.
Right.
He's a culture guy, right? And Nagy was good for him, and Monken was good for him. He had 2 good coordinators.
Well, I think
now I'm not sure, right? He's got Nagy
I
as
don't
his
love
OC.
that Nagy. I don't love that move.
And he's got his DC. Does he have one yet?
I think I could double check, but if they did hire one, it wouldn't be someone. Oh, how could I forget? You're apparently your brand new favorite team, the Tennessee Titans. They brought over the Titans DC, which in total defense, which is just yards allowed, I think they were number 2, but they were 30th in points allowed.
Yeah.
So again, you're not going to give up many yards, but the yards you do give up will end in scores.
They're all in the red zone.
It'll end in scores. So that's a pick that I was a little bit concerned about. So maybe with John Harbaugh's coaching instead of Brian Callahan, maybe it alters from just a really decent defense or something like that. So you basically create the median between the yards and the points allowed to make it an average defense. Who knows? I don't love the pick though. I don't love the coordinator picks. I really don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, this move of Harbaugh going from the Ravens to the Giants seems sort of like Andy Reid going from the Eagles to Kansas City.
Ooh.
Do you think that Harbaugh will have the kind of success that Andy Reid has had in Kansas City?
No.
I don't either.
You know why? 2 reasons. Where is Mahomes? Where is Travis Kelce? Or where is Tyreek Hill? Where is Chris Jones? Where is L'Jarius Sneed? Where's Tyrann Mathieu? I could go down the list. Where are all these tremendous defensive and offensive lists? Where's Trey Smith? Where's Creed Humphrey? Where's Joe Tooney? The Giants don't have any of those. They have Malik Neighbors, which is not Tyreek Hill. They have Jackson Dart, which is not even close to Mahomes. They have Theo Johnson, which is not close to Travis Kelce.
They have Brian Burns.
They have a great front four. If you include the linebacker front seven,
who underperformed.
I would agree.
Massively.
Besides Brian Burns, Abdul Carter should have been significantly. He had like a half sack to like 12 games. That's unacceptable. You were taken very high in the draft. You cannot have a half sack to like 11 games. That could have been completely on Shane Bowen, but who knows. All right, let's go through some of the other coaches that you have a comment on, and we could react to some of them.
Okay, so going down in the second tier here, a wild card, Clint Kubiak. I like his chances. I think he's a good pick for the Raiders. The Raiders aren't going to do anything next year. I don't think. I don't see how they can. Their schedule is going to be tough. They play in one of the toughest divisions in football. Kubiak has a football heritage. His father was a very good coach. His father was a quarterback, and I'm sure he'll be a mentor to Clint if he gets the job, which looks pretty obvious here. And I think this hurts the Seahawks a little bit in the Super Bowl with him thinking, is he really thinking about the game, or is he thinking about being head coach of the Raiders?
He claims his mind is solely focused.
Yeah, right. Well, how can that be? I don't know how anybody could. There's only 32 head coaching jobs in the NFL. You get one of them, you got to be thinking about it a little bit, I would think. They got the number 1 pick in the draft, right? They're going to pick Mendoza for sure. He's a very bright offensive mind, and they say he's an animal on game day. He's an explosive play brand of football. He plays that. So it could be exciting for the Raiders, which would be something we haven't seen for quite a while. He's an expert at coaching the play-action play. The Seahawks are third in air yards per completion and air yards per pass attempt. So those are good stats. So I like him next. And then Joe Brady I have, although I think he'll be the most successful because he has Josh Allen, but I think this is a move made to please Josh Allen, and I don't think that's such a good idea. I think making a move to please one player, that could backfire.
You had the same thing with Joe Burrow making the pushing for
that's right.
Jamar
Exactly.
Chase.
That's a very good example. A very good example.
That video went viral.
The Bengals leadership kind of caved to Joe Burrow's wishes, and look what happened. I mean, because he was hurt. He was hurt, but still, you can't give all that money to just a couple of players when their defense is so horrible. I think the issue for Joe Brady is going to be his relationship with the GM, who is not that good, personally, in my personal opinion, but the leadership loves him. So there could be some friction there, and I'll be interested to see how that kind of plays out. But I think I got to put him up there because I think he and Allen get along well. Allen did well under him, has done well under him, so now he's the head coach. Maybe he'll find some ways to make the offense even better. I don't know, but the defensive coordinator now will have more flexibility given that McDermott is out of there. So that's where I got Brady. Then I got McCarthy. I like Mike McCarthy. I mean, he's 62 years old, and the roster needs some serious attention and long-term vision. Does he have that? I'm not so sure. He's a stable hand at the wheel. He'll be able to talk Aaron Rodgers and coming back for one more year. He kind of seems like a short-term answer to help the Steelers maintain respectability. Who is the offensive coordinator going to be for them? I mean, probably McCarthy will call the plays, I would think. He called the plays in Dallas, and they were pretty successful with him calling the plays. So I don't know who the OC will be. Then I have then the bottom tier, I have Monken, Halfley, and LaFleur. Nobody likes LaFleur. I mean, he's the brother of Matt LaFleur. I guess that's what he's got going for him. And probably Matt will be his mentor. But I don't know how Matt will have much time to spend with him. And so I don't know. LaFleur seems to be, nobody likes him. Monken,
I'm shocked.
Monken, he got a lot out of Lamar Jackson, 2 MVPs, turned him into a much better passer. But Jim Schwartz all upset, right? Didn't he quit? I don't think he's going to be he's not going to.
He's still ticked off. Yeah.
He hasn't quit though.
They don't expect to retain him, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's not good because he was a defensive coordinator of one of the best defenses in football. I think he'll be a better play caller for the Browns than he was for the Ravens, and I think he'll bring a better offensive strategy than they had under Stefanski. Is he an improvement over Stefanski overall? Probably not. In fact, it might be even a little worse. Stefanski is number one in your book, so I'm not sure what you will find out where you got Monken, but I got him down near the bottom. And Halfley, I don't know that guy. He's a defensive coach. The Dolphins need help everywhere. So who's going to be the quarterback? Probably Tua, as you say. The money just says they probably don't want to get off him at this point. Nathaniel Hackett is on their staff. Huh?
Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, what the hell are they doing?
Can he hold the players accountable? We'll see. The Packers defense fell apart when Micah Parsons got hurt. He doesn't have that criteria that I mentioned before of trying to cobble something together to keep it going. Their defense fell apart. Is he an improvement over McDaniel? I don't think so.
Well, they're two completely different coaches. One was an OC of the Niners. The other one was a DC of the Packers.
In terms of McDaniel is a brilliant offensive mind. And actually, McDaniel has that quality of being able to cobble something together because when Tua was terrible, right, he took the offense away from Tua.
They gave it to Quinn Ewers.
They gave it to the running game, and it worked. It worked. Right. They won a bunch of games after he did that. So, and then Mike LaFleur, he's the play caller for the Cardinals, right?
Yeah. Well, Mike LaFleur now, we would probably call Mr. Carlos.
Yeah, he's going to be
the OC of the Rams.
OC of the Rams, which not bad, right? You have
Matthew Stafford, MVP Matt Stafford.
Matthew Stafford, MVP candidate. Hiring assistants off the Rams tree has been pretty successful. Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, Liam Cohen. So, maybe they could do it. They could have done a lot worse. He's staying in the division, so he knows the other teams pretty well. I think they need more. They need more than an improved scheme, though. The big question mark for me is who's going to play quarterback for them? Yeah. They get rid of Kyler Murray. Who the hell are they going to get?
Well, it's just a question of will they actually trade away Kyler?
Huh? Who's it going to be?
Behind that offensive line?
Ew. Who is it going to be?
Honestly?
I didn't think they ought to think
Jacoby
about
Brissett.
that. Really? You think they'll just keep him?
He was tremendous with them. With what he had? Are you kidding me? He was better than Kyler Murray was. That defense was just atrocious. That's why I kind of agree just with the schematic fit of it all. Like, think about some of these moves, right? Because think about it. If you're complaining about Kevin Stefanski's offense, the Browns hired an offensive coach. Mike McCarthy and the Steelers' offense had questions. You hire an offensive coach. The Ravens' defense was a big question mark. You hire a defensive coach. The Dolphins' defense was an issue. You hire a defensive coach. The Falcons' defense was fine. The offense was questionable, and especially with the young quarterback, you hire an offensive coach. The Bills could keep their continuity, even though their defense wasn't great, but just for the Josh Allen move, which I kind of agree with you on. Robert Saleh, I said this before, I'll say it again. It's a culture. It's a Mike Vrabel 2.0. Oh, we should have kept Vrabel. Now let's build another culture guy. We saw what he did with the banged-up Niners defense. They played really tough for him. We want that guy in the building. Clint Kubiak. Nothing worked for the Raiders. Let's just get the hottest OC in the game right now for a Super Bowl team. John Harbaugh with the Giants. The Giants' defense was terrible. You hire a defensive-minded coach. I think, truthfully, though, the one that I think is the biggest, I'm not going to say mistake, but it just didn't make sense. And it's the guy that you left last. The offense for the Cardinals was not an issue. It was the defense. The defense was one of the worst in the league. So what do? Hire a defensive coach. What? Or hire an offensive coach. Hire an offensive coach. What? Why? There is no reason that the Cardinals need to go with Mike LaFleur besides the fact that he's the OC of he was the OC of the, probably, we'll see on Thursday, the MVP quarterback in Matt Stafford. You're just hoping that the Sean McVay tree keeps sprouting beautiful buds, and all of a sudden, look at what we have, another Sean McVay hit nail on the head coaching hire. That's what you're hoping. But just schematically, it makes no sense to hire an offensive coach when your defense was that bad. Otherwise, I think all these coaches kind of fit the roles the teams were looking for. So none of them are failing grades whatsoever. I just think, again, what are your expectations? If your expectations are win the Super Bowl, the best ones that just have a shot, Jesse Minter, John Harbaugh, Joe Brady. Those are the only three where I could be like, hey, you have the better shot.
To
me, it doesn't really matter.
I think Joe Brady is the best chance.
He's probably the best
to get to the Super Bowl.
But just above those 10 head coaching hires, none of them are going to make the Super Bowl besides maybe Joe Brady. But those other two that I mentioned, John Harbaugh and Mike McCarthy, have a shot above the rest of the other 7. I do not think the Dolphins have a shot at making the Super Bowl, or the Cardinals, or the Browns, or the how
about the playoffs? Just do that. I mean, the Super Bowl is
the playoffs.
Like a Herculean for teams that fired the head coach.
That's the goal of all. I mean, the Patriots just did it.
I know the Patriots did it.
Sean McVay, did he make it within his first 1 or 2 years with the Rams as well? Jared Goff, first overall pick?
Yeah,
it was the first
right.
1 or 2 years. His first year, I think, was terrible. The year after that, maybe. So if we're talking about just the playoffs, Steelers and Ravens. And the Bills. Falcons as well, because they play in the worst division in football. Those are the 4 that I think can make it. The Giants, I think, a healthy Jaden Daniels. Falcons, yeah. Falcons, Ravens, Steelers, Bills. So Joe Brady, Kevin Stefanski, Jesse Minter, and Mike McCarthy. Those are the only head coaches I think have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. I do not see John Harbaugh going up against that division, beating the Eagles and the Cowboys out, or even the Washington Commanders with a healthy Jaden Daniels. I do not see them, trying to, get on top of that division. The Cardinals play in probably the toughest division in football. Tom Monken is currently the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Enough said. Jeff Hafley is the currently head coach of the Miami Dolphins, who have a terrible cap situation, no great defense, an offensive line that needs serious reworking, and a quarterback that's a cap casualty, and a wide receiver who may not even be there in Tyreek Hill next year. We'll have to wait and see. The Titans, they play in a difficult division, and they're the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
They need a lot. And finally, the Raiders, who play with Mahomes and Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, and now Mike McDaniel, which I think is probably the best coordinator hire of the entire cycle. And also, you play against Sean Payton and Bo Nix, who were just in the AFC Championship game. So I do think that there's just, if we're talking about, again, difficulty of your own division, just the ability to win football games. It doesn't need to be pretty. Just who has the highest likelihood of winning football games? It's Joe Brady and Kevin Stefanski. Joe Brady just with the continuity and having Josh Allen. Kevin Stefanski, the easiest division of football, or rather the worst division of football, I might add.
Although he's got the quarterback issue.
Yeah, the quarterback issue will be something to definitely take a look at. So I think that nobody failed on their head coaching hire. This isn't a Gerard Mayo type of situation where, okay, it looks like that's going to be a one-and-done coach. It's not a Pete Carroll situation with the Raiders. It doesn't look like any of these teams are really going for one-and-dones necessarily.
Agree with that.
I feel like all these coaches, do they make it 5 years to their 5-year contracts? Probably not. But I cannot see any one of these coaches being completely one-and-done. Like you could look at maybe over the past few years. So, okay, don't love that head coaching hire. Maybe there'll be someone next year that they go get and fire this head coach. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, that does wrap it up for today's episode of the Harvey Hour. We thank you for the constant support as always. We'll be back Friday. That's a massive show. More rumors that we're going to talk about on Friday as well. More news to break down, as well as the Super Bowl. We'll react to the NFL Honors, which is coming up this week as well. And also, obviously, Super Bowl Patriots, Seahawks, a rematch of Super Bowl 49. Will the Seahawks get their revenge after the blunder with Marshawn Lynch, Russell Wilson, and Malcolm Butler? Or we'll have the Patriots go back-to-back Super Bowl wins against the Seahawks. We'll have to wait and see. We'll make our predictions on Friday's show. So until then, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We have been your host, Harvey Hour. Catch us Friday around 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Good night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online